Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into the vast starless Sahara, where Mali's salt traders once roamed under a sky so dark it feels like the universe forgot to flip the switch. Picture this. You're trudging through warm sand, the kind that sneaks into your sandals and stays there like an uninvited guest. A camel grumbles behind you, hauling slabs of salt that gleam faintly in the moonlight, if there's any moon at all. The air's dry enough to make your lips crack, and the silence, it's so heavy you can hear your own heartbeat. These traders, they didn't just survive this, they thrived, turning salt into a treasure worth more than gold. But let's be real, you probably wouldn't last a day out here without Wi-Fi and a water bottle. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I love knowing where you're drifting off from. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're not just anywhere in the Sahara, you're in the Mali Empire, sometime around the 13th century, when this desert wasn't just a sandy void, but a highway for wealth. The Mali Empire, at its peak, was a powerhouse, stretching across West Africa, its cities like Timbuktu buzzing with scholars, merchants, and yes, salt traders. Salt wasn't just a seasoning back then, it was life. People needed it to preserve food, to stay hydrated in this furnace of a desert, and to flex their status at fancy banquets. Historical records, like those from Arab traveler Ibn Battuta, tell us salt slabs were traded pound for pound with gold in some markets. That's right. Sprinkle a little salt on your stew, and you're basically a baller. But here's the quirky bit. Some traders swore by a bizarre ritual to bless their salt before a journey. They'd bury a small chunk under the sand at dusk, whisper a prayer to the desert spirits, and dig it up at dawn, claiming it brought safe travels. No one's sure if it worked, but it's the kind of oddball tradition that makes you wonder what else they got up to out there. Historians still argue whether these rituals were spiritual or just a way to psych themselves up for the grueling trek ahead. Right now, you're standing at the edge of a trading post, maybe Tagaza, a dusty nowhere ville famous for its salt mines. The air smells faintly of camel dung and something sharp, like the earth itself is sweating. Your tunic, rough, woven from cotton, sticks to your skin as you squint into the darkness. The traders around you are wrapping their heads in turbans, not just for style, but to keep the sand from turning their faces into human sandpaper. You're about to join them, hauling salt across a desert that doesn't care if you live or die. It's not glamorous, but there's something oddly soothing about the rhythm of it. Step, step, grunt, step. The caravan's ready to move, and you're already wondering how anyone finds their way when the stars decide to hide. The Sahara's not your average wilderness. It's a beast. Endless dunes that shift like they've got a personal grudge. Temperatures that swing from scalding to freezing, and winds that'll slap you silly. Yet these traders crossed it like it was their backyard. You're clutching a rope tied to a camel. Its swaying bulk your only anchor in this sea of sand. The guy next to you, a grizzled trader with a beard like a bird's nest, mutters something about reading the dunes. You're not sure if he's wise or just dehydrated, but you're about to find out. The night's young, and the desert's got secrets it's not keen on sharing. Oh, and a quick aside, imagine trying to explain this job to your friends back home. Yeah, I haul salt through a desert for a living. Super chill. They'd think you're nuts. But out here, it's just another day. The caravan starts moving, and you're already counting your steps, hoping you don't trip over a rock and eat sand. The trader's world is tough, but there's a strange calm in its routine, like the desert's whispering. Slow down, kid. You've got nowhere else to be. You're trudging deeper into the Sahara now, the caravan's rhythm sinking into your bones. Step, shuffle, camel snort, repeat. The air's so dry it feels like you're breathing dust, and the salt slabs tied to the camels glint faintly, like they're mocking you for signing up for this. You're in the Mali Empire's golden age, around the 1300s, and salt isn't just something you shake onto your fries. It's a currency, a status symbol, a literal lifesaver. Back then, the Mali Empire's wealth wasn't just in gold mines. Salt was the real flex. Historical accounts, like those from the scholar Alumari, say a single salt slab could buy you a horse or a month's worth of grain in Timbuktu. Imagine walking into a market and slapping down a chunk of salt like it's a black Amex. But here's the weird bit. Some traders believed salt had a spirit that could curse you if you disrespected it. They'd never spit near a salt slab or let it touch the ground during a trade. Bad mojo, they said. You're trying not to roll your eyes as the guy next to you whispers to his salt like it's a pet. Is this superstition or just dessert fever talking? Historians still argue whether these beliefs were rooted in religion or just practical ways to keep traders from mishandling their precious cargo. You're starting to get why salt was such a big deal. Out here, where the nearest river might be a week away, preserving food is a nightmare. Meat spoils in hours under this sun, and without salt, you're stuck eating whatever sad wilted plants you can scrounge. Plus, sweat leaches salt from your body faster than you can say dehydration. You're already craving a sip from the goatskin water bag slung over your shoulder. But the trader leading the caravan, let's call him Amadou, with a turban so dusty it's basically a sand sculpture, shoots you a look. Save it, he grunts. You're learning fast. Out here, every drop, every grain counts. The Sahara's not just a backdrop, it's a character in this story, and it's got a temper. The dunes stretch endlessly, each one looking like the last, and the sky's so dark tonight you can't even pretend to navigate by stars. You're wondering how Amadou knows where he's going, but he's too busy humming a low, repetitive tune to explain. It's oddly soothing, like a lullaby for people who smell like camel. You're tempted to ask him about it, but the guy's got the vibe of someone who'd rather wrestle a scorpion than chat. Speaking of camels, they're the real MVPs. You're walking beside one now, its long legs plodding through the sand like it's on autopilot. The salt slabs are lashed to its back, heavy enough to make you wince in sympathy. You're carrying a smaller load yourself, a woven basket with a few personal items, maybe a dried date or two for a snack. Pro tip, don't eat the dates in front of Amadou. He'll lecture you about wasting energy like you're blowing through a trust fund. You're starting to see the desert's logic. Everything's about survival, and salt is the glue holding it all together. Oh, and a quick chuckle. Imagine trying to pitch this lifestyle on a dating app. Loves long walks in the desert, hauling 50-pound salt blocks, must like sand in everything. Good luck swiping right. But for these traders, this is their world, and you're just a guest. You're starting to feel the weight of it. Not just the basket, but the vastness of the Sahara, the stakes of getting this salt to market. You glance at Amadou again, his silhouette barely visible against the dunes. He's still humming, and you're starting to think it's not just a tune. You're still trudging through the Sahara, the sand shifting under your sandals like it's got a personal vendetta. The caravan's pace is relentless, and your shoulders ache from the basket you're hauling, packed with a few essentials and a single salt slab that feels heavier with every step. Those slabs, lashed to the camels swaying ahead, are the whole reason you're out here. In the Mali Empire's heyday, around the 14th century, a single slab, roughly the size of a laptop but way less fun, could fetch enough to feed a family for weeks. The historian Ibn Fadl Allah al-Omari wrote that salt was so prized, traders in Gau's markets would haggle over it like it was a rare gem. You're starting to get it. Out here, salt isn't just seasoning. It's survival, status, and straight-up swagger. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some traders swore their salt slabs sang at night. Not a melody, mind you, but a faint hum when the wind hit them just right. They'd lie awake, claiming it was the desert's way of approving their cargo. You're side-eyeing your own slab now, wondering if it's about to drop a beat. Spoiler, it's not. Historians still argue whether this singing salt was a real acoustic quirk, or just traders projecting their exhaustion onto the wind. Your job right now? Keep up and don't drop anything. You're hauling maybe 20 pounds, but the camels are carrying hundreds, slabs stacked like oversized dominoes, roped tight to their humps. You're learning the hard way that sand isn't just annoying, it's a thief. It slips into your clothes, your nose, your dreams. You're tempted to complain, but Amadou, the caravan leader from last section, is still out front, his turban bobbing like a dusty metronome. He hasn't spoken in hours, just keeps muttering that same low hum. You're starting to think it's less a song and more a survival mechanism, like he's tricking his brain into ignoring the pain. The desert's a furnace, even at night, and your tunic's soaked with sweat. You're picturing the traders who did this for years, decades even. They weren't just schlepping salt. They were part of a network that kept the Mali Empire humming. Cities like Timbuktu and Djenné thrived because of guys like Amadou, who risked everything to move this white gold across the Sahara. You're starting to respect the grind, but also, let's be real, you'd kill for a smoothie and some AC right now. A quick laugh. Imagine these traders at a career fair. Job perks, endless sand, grumpy camels, and all the salt you can carry. Yeah, hard pass. But out here, it's not about perks. It's about pride. You're noticing how the other traders walk, heads high, like they know they're keeping the empire's pulse alive. You're trying to mimic that swagger, but your basket's digging into your shoulder, and you're pretty sure you've got sand in places sand should never be. The caravan's moving slower now, the camels plodding through a dip between dunes. You're wondering how much farther to the next stop, to Gaza maybe, or some random oasis nobody's named. Your water bag's half empty, and you're rationing sips like they're liquid gold. Amadou glances back, his eyes catching yours in the faint moonlight. "Keep the rope tight," he says, nodding at the camel you're leading. You nod back, pretending you've got this, but inside you're praying you don't trip and faceplant into a dune. The salt's heavy, the night's long, and the Sahara's not done testing you yet. You're still plodding through the Sahara, the caravan's rhythm a stubborn pulse against the endless dark. Your sandals sink into the sand with every step, and the rope in your hand, tied to a camel that smells like regret, is starting to chafe. The salt slabs on its back sway, catching what little light there is, and you're hyper-aware of their value. Back in the Mali Empire's prime, 13th to 14th century, These camels were the backbone of the salt trade, carrying loads that could buy a house in Timbuktu. Historical records from the Tariq al-Sudan, a West African chronicle, describe camel caravans stretching miles, each beast hauling up to 400 pounds of salt. That's like carrying a small car, except it's just you, some grumpy animals, and a desert that hates you. Here's the quirky bit. Traders believed camels could smell water from miles away. They'd watch their animals' noses twitch, claiming it was better than any map. You're staring at your camel's snout now, half expecting it to point like a GPS. No luck. It just snorts and flicks sand in your face. Historians still argue whether this water-sniffing trick was real or just traders hyping up their camel street cred to impress outsiders. Let's talk about these camels, because they're the real heroes here. You're walking beside one. Let's call her Fatima, because she's got the attitude of someone who knows she's essential. Fatima's a Bactrian with 2 humps that store fat, not water, despite what your old school textbook said. That fat's her fuel, letting her go days without eating, though she's still side-eyeing you like you owe her a snack. Her wide, padded feet spread over the sand like snowshoes, keeping her from sinking where you're struggling. You're jealous. Admit it. Your own feet are screaming, and you're pretty sure you've invented new blisters. Camels don't just carry salt. They carry the caravan's whole vibe. The traders treat them like family, but like the kind of family you argue with at Thanksgiving. You hear Amadou, the caravan leader, muttering to Fatima about keeping up as he adjusts her load. He's got this knack for tying knots that could survive a sandstorm, and you're trying to memorize it. But it's like watching someone solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. The salt slabs are lashed so tightly they barely shift, even when Fatima decides to do her weird camel shimmy. A quick chuckle. Imagine a camel on a dating profile. Loves long desert walks, carrying heavy loads, and spitting. DM me. You'd swipe left, but out here, Fatima's a rock star. She's chewing on nothing, just grinding her teeth in that hypnotic way that's oddly calming, like a white noise machine with hooves. You're starting to see why traders trusted these animals with their lives. Camels don't panic when the wind howls or the dunes shift. They just keep going, like they've cracked the code to the Sahara's nonsense. The night's getting colder, and you're pulling your cotton cloak tighter. You're wondering how Fatima stays so chill, no pun intended. Her thick fur's built for this, unlike your flimsy tunic that's basically a sand magnet. The caravan's pace is steady, but you're feeling the burn in your legs. You glance at Amadou, still humming that low tune from earlier. Remember that? It's fainter now, blending with the camel's grunts and the soft crunch of sand. You're starting to think it's not just a habit. It's his way of syncing with the caravan, keeping everyone moving as one. You try humming along, but you sound like a kazoo. And Fatima gives you a look that says, "Stick to walking, kid. You're deep in the Sahara now. The caravan's slow grind wearing into your soul like sand on stone." The rope in your hand, tied to Fatima the camel, feels like an extension of your arm, and her steady plod is the only thing keeping you from losing it in this starless void. The salt slabs on her back, those precious empire-building blocks, sway gently, their weight a constant reminder of why you're out here. In the Mali Empire's peak, around the 1300s, navigating this desert without stars was a skill that separated the pros from the corpses. Traders didn't have GPS or even a decent compass, yet they crossed hundreds of miles of featureless dunes. The secret, according to chronicles like those of Ibn Khaldun, was a mix of memory, instinct, and tricks passed down like family recipes. You're about to learn one. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some traders claimed they could read the wind's direction by tasting the sand it carried. They'd lick a finger, dab it in the dune, and swear they knew which way was north. You're tempted to try it, but the sand in your mouth already tastes like regret. Historians still argue whether this was legit meteorology or just a flex to spook rookie traders like you. Picture this. The sky's blacker than your ex's heart. No stars, no moon, just an endless inky dome. You're squinting, hoping for a landmark, but the dunes all look like clones. Amadou, the caravan leader, isn't fazed. He's kneeling now, running his fingers through the sand like he's reading Braille. Winds from the east, he mutters, pointing left. You're not sure if he's a genius or just guessing, but you follow. He's using the harmattan, a dry trade wind that blows across the Sahara, kicking up dust so fine it coats your teeth. The trick? Its direction is predictable, at least to guys like Amadou who've spent decades out here. He knows the wind's patterns like you know your phone's passcode, but it's not just wind. You notice Amadou glancing at the dune's shapes, those crescent curves formed by years of blowing sand. They're like nature's arrows, their tips pointing where the wind usually goes. You're trying to keep up, but it's like learning quantum physics in the dark. There's also talk of song lines, not like the Aboriginal ones, but a Mali version. Mental maps sung or chanted to recall routes. Amadou's humming from earlier. Maybe it's not just a vibe. Maybe it's a melody mapping the way to Taghaza. You're too shy to ask, mostly because he'd probably just grunt and tell you to tighten Fatima's rope. A quick laugh. Imagine explaining this to your friends. Yeah, I navigate by licking sand and humming. Totally normal. They'd stage an intervention. But out here, it's not crazy. It's clutch. You're starting to see the desert as a puzzle, not a punishment. The traders also used cairns, small stone piles left by earlier caravans, as waypoints. You spot one now, barely a foot high, half buried. It's not much, but in this nothingness, it's a lifeline. You're wondering how many hands stacked those rocks, how many lives they saved. The cold's creeping in, and your cloak's doing a terrible job. Fatima doesn't care. She's plodding along, her breath puffing like a grumpy dragon. You're clutching the rope tighter, partly for balance, partly because it's the only thing that feels real. Amadou's still out front, his turban a faint smudge against the dark. You're starting to trust him, not because he's chatty, he's not, but because he moves like the desert's his dance partner. The salt's still heavy, the night's still long, but you're learning. Out here, the wind's your map, the sand's your guide, and you'd better listen. You're still weaving through the Sahara's endless dunes, the caravan's slow sway lulling you into a trance. The rope in your hand, tied to Fatima the camel, is rough as old leather, and her grumbling snorts are starting to feel like conversation. The salt slabs on her back, those precious chunks worth more than your weight in gold, glint faintly when the clouds part. You're bone-tired, but the traders around you, Mali's salt-hauling legends of the 14th century, no rest is coming. After days of trudging, you're nearing an oasis, a rare green smudge in this sandy hellscape. According to historical accounts, like those from the traveler Leo Africanus, oases were lifelines for caravans, offering water, shade, and a chance to not smell like camel for a few hours. You're practically drooling at the thought. Here's the quirky bit. Some traders believed oasis water tasted sweeter if you thanked the date palms first. They'd pat the trunks, muttering gratitude before drinking. You're eyeing the palms ahead, wondering if you should give it a whirl, or if it's just dehydration talking. Historians still argue whether this was a spiritual ritual or a way to ensure nobody poisoned the well. You crest a dune, and there it is, a cluster of palms huddled around the pool no bigger than a kiddie pool. The water's murky, reflecting the faint moonlight, but to you, it's a 5-star resort. Amadou, the caravan leader, raises a hand, and the camels kneel with groans that sound like they're auditioning for a drama. You're untying Fatima's rope, your fingers clumsy from exhaustion, and she gives you a look that says, "Hurry up, rookie." The traders are already spreading blankets under the palms, their turbans loosened, revealing sweat-matted hair. You're copying them, staking out a patch of sand that's only slightly less pokey than the rest. The air smells different here, less dusty, with a hint of damp earth and something sweet. Maybe the dates hanging above. You're tempted to climb up and grab one, but Amadou's watching, and you're not ready for another lecture about wasting energy. Instead, you dip your goatskin bag into the pool, the water cool against your cracked lips. It's not Evian, but after days of rationing sips, it's heaven. You're sitting now, back against a palm, the bark rough but grounding. The caravan's quiet, save for the camels chewing and the occasional trader snoring. A quick chuckle. Imagine posting this on social media. Chilling at a Sahara oasis MBD. Salt trader life. Your followers would think you're unhinged. But out here, this is luxury. You're noticing how the traders unwind. One's rubbing his feet with a paste made from crushed dates, swearing it prevents blisters. Another's braiding a rope, humming that same tune Amadou loves. Remember that. You're starting to think it's the caravan's unofficial anthem, a thread tying everyone together. The oasis isn't just a pit stop. It's a reset. You're watching Amadou check the salt slabs, his hands moving like he's petting a favorite dog. He's making sure none cracked in transit. Each one's a paycheck after all. You're doing the same with your single slab, feeling its weight, its edges smoothed by years in the mines. You're starting to get why they treat salt like family. It's the reason you're all here, risking the desert's wrath. The night's cooler now, the palms rustling like they're whispering secrets. You're drifting, your eyelids heavy, but you're not out yet. The Sahara's still out there, waiting, and you've got miles to go. You're waking up at the oasis, the Sahara's version of a 5-minute vacation, with sand in your hair and a crick in your neck from sleeping against that palm tree. The dawn's creeping in, painting the dunes a soft gold, and the air's still cool enough to make you pull your cloak tight. The salt slabs, stacked neatly by the camels, are catching the first light, and you're reminded why you're out here in the Mali Empire's 14th century hustle. These traders live for routine, and you're about to dive into their daily grind, less glamorous than a TikTok morning routine, but way more intense. Historical records, like those from the Moroccan scholar Ibn Battuta, describe traders starting their days with rituals that kept them sane in this desert madness. You're learning fast. Out here, routine is survival. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some traders kicked off their morning by chewing a bitter root they claimed woke the soul. They'd grimace through it, spitting into the sand, insisting it sharpened their focus. You're offered a piece by a trader with a grin too wide for sunrise, and you're politely declining. Your soul's awake enough, thanks. Historians still argue whether this root was a mild stimulant or just a placebo to psych them up for another day of hauling salt. You're up now, stretching legs that feel like they've been through a medieval gym session. Amadou, the caravan leader, is already barking orders, quietly, because nobody's got energy for shouting. You're splashing oasis water on your face, the cold jolt making you hiss. The traders around you are doing the same, some praying toward the rising sun, others checking their sandals for scorpions. You're copying that last one, shaking out your gear like a paranoid camper. Breakfast is simple: a handful of dried dates and a flatbread tougher than your resolve. You're chewing slowly, savoring the sweetness, while Amadou passes around a communal water bag. You take a sip, remembering his save-it glare from earlier. Yup, still terrifying. Next up, you're tending to Fatima, your camel pal. She's kneeling, chewing cud like she's over this whole trip, but you're brushing sand off her flanks, checking her load. The salt slabs are retied, and you're getting better at those knots, though Amadou still adjusts yours with a grunt. You're starting to feel like part of the crew, even if you're the guy who'd trip over a dune in a sprint. The traders have this rhythm: pack, pray, eat, move. That's hypnotic, like a song you didn't know you knew. That humming from Amadou? It's back, softer now, blending with the rustle of palm fronds. A quick laugh. Imagine vlogging this. Day 47. Brushed a camel, ate a rock-hard bread. Subscribe. Your analytics would tank, but there's something grounding about this routine, the way it tames the Sahara's chaos. You're noticing little details. The way traders wrap their turbans to block the sun, the way they share food without a word. It's not just about survival. It's about trust. You're hauling your basket now, the single salt slab inside digging into your shoulder, but you're not complaining. Okay, maybe a little, but only in your head. The caravan's gearing up to leave, camels groaning as they stand. You're glancing back at the oasis, its green blur already fading into the dunes. The day's heating up, and you're bracing for the slog ahead. Amadou's out front, his turban a beacon, and you're falling into step, Fatima's rope in hand. The salt's heavy, the desert's waiting, but you're starting to get the hang of this. Or at least, you're faking it well. You're back on the move, the Sahara stretching out like an endless beige carpet that nobody vacuumed. The sun's climbing, turning the dunes into a slow-cook oven, and you're sweating through your tunic, clutching Fatima's rope like it's your lifeline. The salt slabs on her back sway with each step, their value, enough to buy a herd of goats in Timbuktu, making you paranoid about every jolt. In the Mali Empire's 1300s heyday, caravans like this were prime targets for bandits, and the tension's starting to creep in. Historical accounts, like those in the Tariq al-Fatash, mention raiders who'd strike from nowhere, vanishing into the dunes with stolen salt. You're scanning the horizon, half expecting a dust cloud to spell trouble. Here's the quirky bit. Some traders carried lucky charms, bits of bone or carved wood, swearing they repelled bandits. One guy in the caravan, a wiry trader with a scar across his cheek, keeps petting a small pouch tied to his belt, muttering about its power. You're not sure if it's magic or just his lunch, but you're not asking. Historians still argue whether these charms were spiritual talismans or just morale boosters for nervous traders. You're trying to stay cool, but the rumors of bandits are like sand in your brain, irritating and everywhere. Amadou, the caravan leader, isn't helping. He's quieter than usual, his eyes flicking to the ridges above the dunes. "Keep close," he says, voice low, and you're suddenly aware of how exposed you are. The caravan's tightened up, camels bunched together, their grunts louder in the stillness. You're gripping Fatima's rope so hard your knuckles ache, and she's sensing the vibe, her ears twitching like she's picking up bad frequencies. The Sahara is not just a desert, it's a stage for paranoia. Every shadow could be a raider, every gust a signal. You're remembering Amadou's wind reading trick from earlier, how he tasted the sand to find north. Now you're wondering if he's sniffing for trouble too. The traders have tricks for this. They spread out scouts, usually the youngest guys, to climb dunes and watch for movement. You're not volunteering. Your climbing skills are more trip over a sandal than ninja. But you're watching a kid, barely 15, scamper up a dune, his silhouette sharp against the sky. He signals all clear, and you exhale, but the knot in your stomach doesn't budge. A quick chuckle. Imagine a bandit job ad. Wanted, desert thieves, must love sand, stealing, and long getaways. You'd rather stay on this side of the law, thanks. But the fear's real, and it's keeping you sharp. You're noticing how the traders move, eyes always scanning, hands near their curved knives. They don't talk about bandits much, like it's bad luck. But you catch whispers about a caravan hit last season, salt gone, camels scattered. You're hoping it's just a story, like that singing salt nonsense from earlier. The sun's higher now, baking your turban, and you're rationing sips from your water bag, remembering Amadou's glare. Fatima's plodding along, unfazed, her hump swaying like she's mocking your anxiety. You're trying to channel her chill, but every crunch of sand sounds like footsteps. Amadou's humming's gone silent, which feels worse than the bandit rumors. The salt's still heavy, the dune's still endless, but you're moving forward, one sweaty step at a time, praying the only thing you meet out here is more sand. You're still trudging through the Sahara, the caravan's pace a stubborn drumbeat against the heat. Fatima's rope is slick with your sweat, and the salt slabs on her back seem to mock you with every sway. Priceless cargo you're terrified of losing. The bandit's scare from earlier lingers like a bad aftertaste, but the dunes are quiet now, just endless waves of sand under a sky that's finally showing a few stars. Tonight you're camping. No oasis this time, just a flat patch of desert where the traders drop their gear and collapse. By the firelight, a griot, one of Mali's legendary storytellers, is about to spin a tale. In the 14th century Mali Empire, griots were walking libraries, their stories preserving history and calming frayed nerves. You're ready for something to take the edge off. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some griots claimed their voices could charm the desert itself, keeping sandstorms at bay. The old man by the fire, his fingers plucking a chorus strings, swears his tales once stopped a gale mid-blow. You're skeptical. Your last campfire story didn't exactly control the weather, but his voice is so smooth you almost believe him. Historians still argue whether these claims were poetic flexing or tied to real rituals for desert spirits. You're sitting cross-legged on a woven mat, the sand still warm beneath you. The fire crackles, throwing shadows across the traders' faces, and the griot's voice weaves through the night, low and rhythmic like Amadou's humming. Remember that? He's telling a story about a trader who outsmarted a jinn, a desert spirit, to save his salt. The tale's full of vivid details, the jinn's eyes like burning coals, the trader's clever riddles, the salt glowing under moonlight. You're half asleep, the words washing over you like a lullaby, but you're hooked. The other traders are too, their eyes soft, some nodding along like they've heard it 100 times. The griot's kora, a harp-like instrument, adds a gentle twang, its notes blending with the camel's distant grunts. You're noticing how the traders lean in, even the tough ones who daisy-chain their fingers through the sand. They're not just here for the salt. They're here for the stories, the shared history that binds them. You're starting to get why these tales matter. In a desert that could swallow you whole, stories are anchors, reminding you who you are. A quick laugh. Imagine pitching this to a streaming service. Griot Tales, Desert Edition. No CGI, just vibes and sand. It'd be a niche hit. But out here, it's magic. You're sipping from your water bag, rationing like Amadou taught you, and munching a date. Its sweetness cutting through the dust in your mouth. The griot's story ends with the trader's triumph, and the traders murmur approval, some tossing small coins at his feet. You're tempted to clap, but you settle for a nod, not wanting to break the spell. The fire's dying down, and you're wrapping your cloak tighter against the creeping cold. Fatima's nearby, chewing cud like she's unbothered by epic tales or desert spirits. You're glancing at your salt slab, safe for now, and feeling a strange calm. The griot's voice, the fire's glow, the stars finally peeking out. It's all weaving together, making the Sahara feel less like a beast and more like a home. You're finally here, stepping into Timbuktu's bustling salt market, the air thick with dust and the sharp tang of commerce. The sun's high, baking the sand under your sandals, and Fatima's rope is loose in your hand as she plods behind, her salt slabs intact after weeks in the Sahara. This is the Mali Empire at its peak, 14th century, when Timbuktu was a global hub, not just a dot on a map. Historical records, like those from the scholar Alumari, describe markets where salt was haggled over like fine art, each slab weighed, inspected, and traded for gold, grain, or even slaves. You're in the thick of it now, dodging merchants and their loud bartering, your single salt slab feeling like a winning lottery ticket. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some traders sealed deals by breaking off a tiny piece of salt and eating it together, swearing it bound their word. You're watching two merchants do it now, grimacing as they chew. Guest trust tastes gritty. Historians still argue whether this was a sacred ritual or just a way to prove the salt wasn't fake. The market's a sensory overload. Stalls are piled with salt slabs, some pinkish from desert minerals, others white as bone. You're weaving through crowds, traders in bright robes, women balancing baskets of millet, kids darting underfoot like they own the place. The noise is constant. Shouts of prices, the clink of cowrie shells used as currency, camels groaning like they're done with this chaos. You're clutching your slab, trying not to bump into anyone because dropping it here would be like spilling coffee on your laptop. Disaster. Amadou's nearby, haggling with a buyer, his turban bobbing as he gestures. He's in his element, voice sharp but calm, like he's been doing this since diapers. You're up next, and your palms are sweaty. The buyer, a stout man with a beard like a hedge, eyes your slab like it's a used car. Good weight, he grunts, scraping it with a knife to check its texture. You're trying to play it cool, mimicking Amadou's low-key swagger, but inside you're screaming, "Just take it!" You settle on a price, enough cowries to fill your basket, and you're feeling like a Wall Street bro closing a deal. Okay, maybe a very sandy Wall Street bro, a quick laugh. Imagine this on reality TV. Salt market showdown. Who'll crack under pressure? You'd be the one sweating bullets. But there's a rhythm to this chaos, a pulse that keeps Timbuktu alive. You're noticing the details, the way merchants wrap salt in cloth to keep it clean, the way they toss insults like compliments. You're starting to see the market as a stage, every haggle a performance. That humming from Amadou, it's back, faint under the market's roar, grounding you like a familiar song. You're done trading, your basket heavier with cowries, and you're weaving back to the caravan's edge. Fatima's chewing something. She better not have swiped the millet stalk. And you're giving her a pat, grateful she got you here. The salt's gone, but the market's energy lingers, buzzing in your veins. You're already wondering what's next. More dunes, more salt, more Amadou's grumpy wisdom. For now, you're just soaking it in. The heart of Mali's empire beating around you. You're lingering at the edge of Timbuktu's salt market, the buzz of haggling fading as you catch your breath. Your basket's heavy with cowrie shells from your salt trade, and Fatima's rope is slack in your hand as she chews on nothing, looking smug. The sun's dipping, casting long shadows over the Mali Empire's 14th century hub, and you're noticing something you missed in the market's chaos. The women. They're everywhere, carrying grain, weaving through stalls, even whispering advice to traders like Amadou. Historical accounts, like those from Ibn Battuta, often focus on male traders. But women were the quiet engine of this economy, shaping the salt trade in ways nobody bragged about. You're about to see their influence up close. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some women traders hid tiny salt flakes in their braids, claiming it brought luck and deals. You're watching a woman now, her hair intricately woven, smirking as she outsmarts a buyer. You're not sure if it's salt or just confidence, but it's working. Historians still argue whether this was a practical trick, sneak-in samples, or a symbolic nod to the desert spirits. You're following a trader named Aisha, who's not hauling salt but managing the caravan's supplies. She's got a voice like a whip, directing men twice her size to stack millet sacks. You're impressed, maybe a little intimidated. Aisha's not just logistics, she's a deal maker, negotiating with market women who control the grain and cloth that keep caravans running. You're learning that women like her often funded these trips, pooling resources to outfit camels and hire griots like the one from the campfire. Their names didn't make it into chronicles, but their wealth did, bankrolling the salt trade's grind. You're tagging along as Aisha checks the caravan's gear, her eyes catching every detail. Cracked water bags, loose ropes. She's the one who taught Amadou that knot you're still failing at, and you're starting to see her as the caravan's real boss. She tosses you a date saying, "Eat. You're too skinny for the desert." You're munching, grateful, while she inspects your single salt slab from earlier, now traded, but she's curious. "Good deal," she nods, and you're beaming like you aced a test. A quick laugh. Imagine Aisha on a corporate retreat. "Team building? I run a desert caravan. Sit down." She'd eat CEOs for breakfast, but her strength's quiet, woven into the caravan's rhythm like that humming you keep hearing. Amadou's tune, now faint as he packs nearby. You're noticing how women shape the market's flow. One selling dyed cloth, another's trading salt for gold dust. Her scale's so precise you're jealous of her math skills. They're not just support, they're strategy, making sure the salt gets from Tagaza to Timbuktu without a hitch. You're helping Aisha now, tying a sack under her watchful eye. Your nuts are still garbage, but she doesn't scold, just fixes them with a flick of her wrist. The market's winding down, and you're feeling the weight of the day. Sand in your sandals, cowries in your basket, and a new respect for the women holding this empire together. Fatima's ready to move, and you're falling into step, Aisha's voice still ringing in your ears. The desert's waiting, but for now, you're part of something bigger. You're back in the Sahara's grip, the Timbuktu market a fading memory as you trudge through dunes that never seem to end. Fatima's rope is rough in your hand, her salt slabs swaying like they're taunting you with their weight. The sun's a relentless bully, turning your turban into a sweat-soaked rag, and you're wondering how Mali's 14th century salt traders didn't just quit and open a lemonade stand. Surviving this desert isn't just about grit. It's about hacks, tricks that turn certain death into maybe we'll make it. Historical accounts, like those from the traveler Leo Africanus, describe traders using ingenious methods to beat the heat and scarcity. You're about to learn a few, and they're weirder than you'd expect. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some traders swore by wrapping their feet in camel fat to prevent blisters. They'd slather it on, smelling like a barbecue gone wrong, claiming it kept their souls soft. You're glancing at your own cracked feet, tempted to ask Amadou for a glob, but Fatima's giving you a look like, don't even think about it. Historians still argue whether this was practical or just a gross flex to prove they could waste fat in a desert. You're learning the big one first, water conservation. Your goatskin bag's half empty, and Amadou's save it glare from way back is burned into your brain. Traders don't just sip, they time their drinks, take in tiny gulps at specific hours, usually dawn and dusk when the body absorbs it best. You're trying it now, the water warm and gritty but glorious. Another hack, they eat high-water foods like dates and millet paste, which you're chewing now. Its mushy texture weirdly satisfying. It's not a smoothie, but it keeps you from keeling over. Shade's another lifesaver. You're copying the traders, draping your cloak over your head to block the sun, though you look like a kid playing Ghost. They also dig shallow pits during the hottest hours, lying in the cooler sand below the surface. You're not there yet. Amadou's pushing the pace. But you're eyeing the dunes, dreaming of a nap. The camels, like Fatima, are built for this, their humps storing fat for energy, not water, as you learned earlier. She's plodding along, unbothered, while you're fantasizing about ice cubes. A quick laugh. Imagine pitching these hacks on a survival show. Step 1. Smear camel fat, eat mush, nap in a hole. Subscribe. You'd get canceled. But out here, it's genius. You're noticing smaller tricks. Traders wet their turbans to cool their heads, letting the evaporation do the work. Amadou's doing it now. His humming, yep, still there, mixing with the drip of water. You're trying it too, and the relief's instant, like a mini AC for your scalp. The caravan's moving slower, the heat forcing everyone to pace themselves. You're clutching your basket, the calories from Timbuktu clinking inside, a reminder of why you're enduring this. The desert's a beast, but these hacks, fat, shade, timed sips, are like cheat codes. You're starting to feel like you might actually survive, though you're not betting on it. Amadou's out front, his turban a beacon, and you're falling into step. Fatima's grunts your soundtrack. The salt's heavy, the sun's heavier, but you're tougher than you thought. You're slogging through the Sahara again, the dunes blurring into a sandy déjà vu. Fatima's rope is a lifeline in your hand, her salt slab swaying as she grumbles through the heat. The sun's dipping now, casting long shadows that make the desert feel haunted. You're thinking about a story you heard back at the campfire, That griot's tale about a trader outsmarting a djinn. But tonight, the traders are whispering about something darker. A caravan that vanished years ago, its salt, camels and souls swallowed by the Sahara. In the Mali Empire's 14th century trade routes, lost caravans were rare, but legendary. Their mysteries recorded in oral histories, like those later written in the Tariq al-Sudan. You're hooked, even if it's giving you chills. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some traders believe the lost caravan was cursed for dropping a salt slab during a storm, angering the desert spirits. They'd point to a dune, swearing it was the exact spot, though it shifts every year. You're glancing at your own slab, tied tight to Fatima, and double-checking the knots. Historians still argue whether these disappearances were due to sandstorms, bandits, or just bad navigation. No one knows for sure. The story goes like this. A caravan, maybe 50 strong, left the Gaza with salt worth a king's ransom. They were seasoned, led by a trader as sharp as Amadou. Then a sandstorm hit, fiercer than anything you've seen, and you're still shaking from that bandit scare. When the winds cleared, the caravan was gone. No tracks, no bones, just rumors. You're picturing it now. The dunes closing over them like a hungry mouth. The traders around you are quiet, their eyes darting to the horizon as if the desert might cough up answers. Amadou's humming, remember that, is softer tonight, like he's respecting the lost. You're clutching Fatima's rope, her warmth grounding you as you trudge on. The story's got you spooked, and you're noticing every gust, every shadow. Was it a storm? Bandits? That djinn from the griot's tale? You're half joking, but the traders aren't laughing. They avoid that dune, taking a longer route, and you're not arguing. You're imagining their last moments, shouting, salt slabs buried, camels panicking. It's not the soothing vibe you signed up for, but it's gripping, like a ghost story you can't quit. A quick laugh. Imagine a Sahara true crime podcast. Episode 12, The Vanishing Caravan. Spoiler, still missing. You'd binge it. But out here, it's too real. You're asking Amadou about it, and he just shrugs, saying, "Dessert keeps its secrets." Great. Thanks for the comfort, pal. You're checking your water bag, rationing like you learned, and patting Fatima, who's unfazed, chewing cud like she's heard this tale before. The stars are out now, faint but steady, and you're trying to focus on them, not the creepy dune. The caravan's camping soon, and you're hoping for another griot to shift the mood. The salt's safe, your koris are jingling, but the mystery's heavy, like the desert's daring you to solve it. You're not that brave, but you're curious, and that's enough for now. You're still trudging through the Sahara, the caravan's rhythm a stubborn pulse against the endless sand. Fatima's rope is worn smooth in your hand, her salt slabs swaying like they're keeping time. The sun's low, painting the dunes gold, and you're thinking about that lost caravan from last night. Its ghost still lingers, but you're shaking it off. You're in the Mali Empire's 14th century glory, and the salt trade wasn't just a job. It was the empire's lifeblood, tying cities like Timbuktu to the world. Historical records, like those from Al-Umari, say Mali's wealth, gold, salt, scholarship, made it a legend as far as Cairo and Mecca. You're starting to see how those salt slabs, heavy as they are, built an empire. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some traders mark their salt with carved symbols, like a medieval barcode, to claim it in busy markets. You're eyeing Fatima's slabs, wondering if Amadou scratched his initials somewhere. Nobody's fessing up to doodling on the goods, though. Historians still argue whether these marks were for ownership or a flex to show off craftsmanship. Picture the network. Salt from Tagaza's mines, hauled by caravans like yours, traded in Timbuktu for gold from the south or grain from the Sahel. It wasn't just commerce, it was power. Mali's kings, like Mansa Musa, got filthy rich taxing this trade, so rich Musa's 1324 pilgrimage to Mecca crashed Egypt's gold market. You're imagining his entourage, camels loaded with salt and gold, making your little caravan look like a lemonade stand. But your salt matters too. It feeds markets, preserves food, keeps the empire humming. You're feeling a weird pride, like you're part of something epic, even if your sandals are full of blisters. You're noticing the traders' vibe now, their quiet confidence. Amadou's out front, humming that tune. Yep, still going, his turban bobbing like a beacon. He's not just a guide, he's a cog in this machine, same as Aisha, the women in the market, even that griot's stories. The salt trade knit them together, linking desert to city, Mali to the world. You're thinking about Timbuktu's market, the cowries in your basket, the women like Aisha who kept it all running. It's a web, and you're a tiny thread, hauling salt through the dunes. A quick laugh. Imagine explaining this to a career counselor. So, I moved salt to fund an empire. Benefits, sand and glory. They'd think you're nuts. But out here, it's real. You're checking Fatima's load, making sure the slabs are secure, remembering that camel fat foot trick you skipped. Your feet are regretting it. The desert's cooling, and you're pulling your cloak tight, the cowries clinking softly. The trade's legacy is heavy, like the salt. But it's also why Mali shone, why you're here, why Amadou keeps humming. The caravan's slowing, another camp ahead. You're ready for rest, maybe another griot to ease the night. The empire's story, built on salt, feels alive in you now. And you're wondering how long it'll last, how long these routes, these slabs will matter. For now, you're just walking, Fatima at your side, the Sahara stretching on. You're nearing the end of this Sahara slog, the dunes softening under a sky now dusted with stars. Fatima's rope is a familiar weight in your hand, her salt slabs swaying gently, their journey almost done. The Mali Empire's 14th century salt trade, the heartbeat of this desert, feels like it's fading, just like the tracks you're leaving in the sand. The world's changing, new routes, new empires, and these caravans, once Mali's lifeline, are starting to feel like echoes. Historical records, like those from later chroniclers in Timbuktu, hint that by the 16th century, shifting trade and politics dimmed Mali's star. You're reflecting on the traders' paths, their legacy, and how it's slipping into the desert's memory. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some traders buried a salt shard at their final camp, a gift to the Sahara for safe passage. You're watching Amadou now, kneeling by a dune, maybe doing just that. Or maybe he's just tying his sandal. You're too tired to ask. Historians still argue whether this was gratitude or a plea for luck on the next trip. The caravans camped for the night, a small fire flickering against the cold. You're sitting on your mat, the cowries from Timbuktu's market clinking in your basket, a reminder of the trade that built Mali's glory. You're thinking about Aisha's sharp eyes, the griot's tales, that lost caravan's mystery. All pieces of this world. The salt trade wasn't just about slabs. It was about people, stories, lives woven into the dunes. You're patting Fatima, her warmth steady, and wondering how many more trips she's got left. Amadou's humming, still there, softer now. Feels like a thread tying you to every trader who walked this route. You're tired, your legs aching from weeks of sand and sun. The stars are brighter tonight, like they're finally showing up to guide you home. You're picturing Tagaza's mines, Timbuktu's markets, the oasis where you splashed water on your face. It's all blurring, like a dream you're not ready to leave. The Sahara's still out there, vast and indifferent. But you're part of its story now, even if just for a moment. You're wrapping your cloak tighter, the fire's glow fading, and you're starting to drift. The fire's just embers now, a soft red pulse in the dark. You're lying back, the sand cool beneath your mat, the stars above like a quilt you could pull over yourself. The caravan's quiet, Fatima's breathing steady, Amadou's humming gone silent. The desert's vast, but it feels smaller tonight, like it's holding you close. You're thinking of the salt, the traders, the empire they built, one slab, one step at a time. Their world's fading, slipping into the dunes. But it's here with you now, in the rustle of your cloak, the weight of your basket. Let the sand settle, let the stars watch. You're safe, you're warm, you're drifting. Sleep's coming, soft as a whisper, carrying you away from the Sahara into a gentle, endless night.